Might be getting wet on my butt. Oh, you have to get wet to get some decent shots sometimes. This is actually Danube River, what I'm standing in. So let's get shooting. Shoot water and to have your pictures really standing out, you cannot simply make a typical snap with exposure values calculated by your camera, which is like during the day would be something in the range of 30th of a second, perhaps 60th of a second. In such pictures, the water simply looks like on a normal snap picture. To have this blurring effect where actually you are freezing the landscape but showing the movement of water, you have to extend shutter speed times to at least 10th of a second, ideally even something like around a second, or to have really nice effect, something like a minute or even few minutes. I visited 3 different locations on different days, and as you will be able to see, 2 of those days, actually 2.5 of those days, have been very cloudy without really colors. But on the other hand, such days are quite good to shoot water and do some close-ups on waterfalls, on the rocks, and then extending the shutter speed times to, as I will be showing you, to times like 1 minute and up to even, I think I was shooting up to 6 minutes, create something completely different, new perspective, and your pictures can really stand out. So I will be using filters, starting with the normal polarizer, which typically my polarizer takes about 2 stops of light, and then I will be using 3 stops neutral density filter, and finally we will be using 10 stops filter from Lee, which allows us to shoot extremely long exposures during the day. Wow, look, it was here and this is so much deeper. Wow, you have to get wet to get some decent shots sometimes. This is actually Danube River, what I'm standing in. There was a moment of sun, but apparently it is gone again behind the cloud. I will try to get a panorama shot of this river, of this small, what is it, waterfall? I'm not really sure what it is. Normally through this creek, when there is too much Danube, there is too much water in the Danube, here everything overflows, so it can be quite deep. I'm using tilt shift lens, so I already pre-focus. I tilted down slightly to get those weeds here in focus, as well as the background. What I will try to do is to do long exposures to have this blurred effect with the moving water. So by default, at the moment I have a polarizer on. The camera tells me I'm in the manual mode now. 1/3 of a second at f11 at ISO 100. So this will be already quite slow. Let's give it a go. We switch on the live view. So I'm doing a middle frame. I will shift it to all the way to the left, and now I will shift it all the way to the right, so it will be nice panorama. Now let's have a look. It's already nice and blurred. However, I will do something way more sophisticated. I forgot to mention that the white balance is set to 7000 kelvins, so I'm not worried about any difference in colors. The sky is a bit overexposed, but there's no details in the sky anyway. I want to concentrate on the water. Let me put 3 stops neutral density filter, and we should then get to like exposure of a few seconds. Give me a moment, let me get it. Let me get it from the shore. So I got my 3 stops neutral density filter. Let me just mount it. And so we should slow it down way more to have a blurry effect. Let's see what we have here. Now it's 3 stops. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we are at 5 seconds exposure. This flowing water should be completely blurred. So let's do a left section. The focus didn't change. I didn't move the camera. Let's open the live view so I don't have to do the mirror lockup function. Let's do number 1. It's 5 seconds each, so it will be 15 seconds. Let's check. Looks nice. We will do now the middle section. Okay, looks good. I might add the soft ND grad just to darken the sky, so not to lose too much details from this grey sky anyway. But apparently it looks very nice. And when I stitch them together, it will look absolutely fantastic. Yeah, let me get a grad. So I have 2 stops. Grad. That's the advantage of having the holder with 3 slots. So you can really experiment. So I'm clicking the preview, the depth of field preview button to see better where the gradation line ends. And I think I'm good. So let's do another series of shots. Yeah, and I don't have any clipping in the sky at the moment. I mean, it's a subtle difference. But I really like to have absolutely everything done in the camera, so I don't have to do almost any post-processing. Now let's go to the extreme and play with the Labach filter, the big stopper. So I'm taking out so I will leave the grad on. What I will do, I just have to remove the 3 stops, and now I have to put the grad in the middle slot, because the stopper should be the big stopper should be the last filter. The light is changing again. It's getting darker, so I don't think I will get any sun. So now I have a 10 stops Lee filter, big stopper. Lee says that it's 10 stops, but actually they're slightly stronger. Mine is taking about 11 stops of light. So I will have to calculate the exposure, but it will be most probably a few minutes. My worry is that this water the flowing water might move the tripod and the pictures will not end up too good. But let's see. So mounting the filter. What's also important is to cover the eyepiece so there's no extra light coming into the camera. Let's switch it on. We didn't change anything again, but because of those 10 stops, definitely we have to go into bulb mode. But what I want to do is calculate the exposure, and of course I don't see anything because it's pitch dark. So I'm now at 5 seconds, but what I will do, I will simply change the ISO to 12,800. And now let me look at the histogram. 30 seconds, no. We have to open up a bit. So let's do F8. Let's try with 4 minutes. So I'm switching to bulb mode. I'm now experimenting. Theoretically, I should be using something like 32 minutes, which is not realistic at the moment. So I'm opening up to F8. I might even open up more, but I will do this test shot with 4 minutes and ISO 400. No, let me do ISO 800. And I'll be back in after 4 minutes. It's 5:30, so it's around sunset time, and this is what I was actually hoping for. The sun, setting sun, should be exactly in this gap above this falling water, but yeah, we don't have luck. So I increased the exposure again. The 4 minutes was not really enough. When I did a test shot with 4 minutes, it was still brighter. Now it's falling dark really fast. So now I'm doing a second picture, and this will be 5 minutes, and probably the last frame will be already 6 or 7 minutes. You see, camera is running now. It's 2 minutes 45 seconds, so another 2.5 minutes roughly. I left it for 6 minutes, so this is the furthest left frame. Let's stop it, and let's have a look. It is dark, but it's acceptable. I hope you can still see it. Anyway, I will put it together. And this is amazing. I mean, this is so surreal. I just hope there's no significant movement of a tripod. Maybe a little bit, but it's a huge magnification. Oh, we are fine. It's a long exposure. We have this small branch of tree as a foreground with the stones and the flowing water, and this fantastically illuminated piece of ice and snow. And now I put the soft grad on to darken the top part of the frame. It's still not locked properly. A long time. I think we are done. Let's have a look, and it's fantastic, absolutely amazing. Maybe a bit overexposed on the snow here. I might be getting wet on my butt. So let's close it down for one stop. So I'll go from F8 to F11, and let's take another shot. Today is 28th of March. Since few days we were supposed to have spring. As you can see here, it doesn't look like a spring at all. It's like the middle of winter. We are about 150 kilometers away from Vienna by Lohnbach waterfall. We are just climbing up, we are just hiking up the small hill. It's not very far, it's about 10-15 minutes from the spot where we are. And now we're going to shoot some moving water, some moving elements with different shutter speeds. I actually chose this location today on purpose because in the morning I saw lots of sun and I thought, okay, let's hide somewhere in the shadow. So then I don't really care if the sun is getting through the clouds or not. We're going to use the we're going to hide behind the trees to get some really nice pictures of waterfall. I've been here last year, I think it was like early autumn. Now I planned to come here in spring. In fact, yeah, I did come here now in spring, but this is something completely not what I was expecting. But anyway, I mean, it's a good opportunity. We'll have different types of pictures, different types of shots, and we might come here again in 2-3 weeks time when the snow is gone. So let's get shooting. Here, so we will have to use the light view most of the time. We have a polarizer on. I already framed the shot. We are at 1/13 of a second, ISO 100 f8. I left my fishing pants in the car, and this additional 20-30 centimeters would have been easier if I could go deeper, but I don't want to get wet. It's quite cold. Despite it's March, we are in spring. What I want to do is I want to slightly blur the water, but we will do a number of shots with different shutter speeds. I will go to 1/10 of a second. Let's give it a shot. Fantastic. Let's move the shift towards the far left. Take another shot, and let's move it far to the right. We have now 3 frames, which we will put them together as a nice panorama. I think I got some water in one of the Wellingtons. Brilliant. So now let's put a 3 stops neutral density filter to slow down the water. Now I have 3 stops neutral density filter, the Pro Glass. It takes 3 stops of light. I have to slow down the shutter speed by 3 stops. So from 1/10 of a second into basically almost a second, 0.8. Let's take the shot. It's a bit, I think, I see here the clipping on the snow. So I will close it down a bit to 0.6 of a second. I still have a spike on the histogram, but the water looks fantastic. So we are at half second at the moment, and I think this should be nice now. Brilliant. There is absolutely no clipping. So now this was the test shot. Let's do 3 frames, left, middle, and the right. So now I got 3 shots, I merged them together, and you can see them now on the screen. Let's now put the 10 stops filter, the big stopper from Lee, and we will use extremely long exposure during the day. I later realized that my microphone's battery died more or less at this stage, but what I was saying here was that with 10 stops filters we have to go to exposure times of at least 1 minute. The big stopper from Lee has this extremely strong blue cast. To compensate for the change of colors, I'm typically switching the camera white balance to manual, where I'm going to the maximum with the Kelvin temperature of 10,000. Despite doing this, you can see now on the picture, you can see now on the screen that the picture is still extremely blue. However, in some cases you might like this effect. So sometimes I'm leaving this as blue, and sometimes I'm correcting the white balance in post-production. So typically then I'm going in Lightroom into the range of 12, 15, sometimes even 20,000 kelvins. It's the same picture after the correction in Lightroom. I changed the white balance to 15,000 Kelvin, and you see the snow is white
the waterfall, blurred water is white, and you see the colors of the sand underwater looking realistically as it was in reality. I absolutely love this extremely long exposure. This was 1 minute exposure. Water is so much blurred, leaving the snow, the stones, the rocks intact. So it's like moving water, like in a movie, but at the same time freezing the action. Now it's a matter of taste, how much you want to blur the water. I mean, we did a test like with basically no blurring, which was with the normal exposure times. Then we put a 3 stops filter. When we had some blur, we went to like a 1 second exposure times, which already gave us some nice blurred effect. But then afterwards, with a 10 stops filter, we ended up with 1 minute, and giving us something completely surreal, something which a human eye will never see. Having done wider shots, I decided to get closer, to get some close-ups of falling waters and trying to capture the ice and the snow and some rocks. For those shots, I was heavily experimenting with grads, where I was using actually 2 of them. One darkening the upper parts of the frame, and then the other one positioned upside down, darkening the foreground ice. Another problem with shooting waterfalls and being so close to splashing water is that after every few, or sometimes even after every shot, you have to wipe the front element, depending which, either the lens, the glass, or the filter itself. So it's quite annoying, but it has to be done.
I think this is it for today. Let's go home. It was fun. Now I'm sure we'll come back here again.